Hey, I'm Krsy Fox, co-writer and star of Bury the Bride, and you're listening to Movies That Don't Suck and Some That Do.
Hey, this is Spider One, director and co-writer of Bury the Bride, and you are listening to Movies That Don't Suck and Some That Do. All right, let's do this.
Yeah.
Sorry.
All right, Chris, you ready?
I'm ready. Let's do this.
It's a show by Chris and Neil with all great movies. They are the real deal. We watch them all, so you don't have to. It's movies that don't suck and some that do.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it's another episode of Movies That Don't Suck and Some Do. My name is Neil.
And I'm Chris.
And today we got a special one for you guys. It's part of the Panic Film Festival series that we're going to be doing for the next 2 weeks. We are going to be covering some of the best horror movies coming through the Kansas City area, northern Kansas City, at the Screenland Armored Theater. If you have never been there, definitely go there. One of my favorite theaters of all time. With us today, we have the writers and one of the stars of the new movie Bury the Bride, which is featuring the one and only Krsy Fox and Spider One.
Yeah.
Hey,
Hi.
So, how did you find the? Was that the Ukrainian Blink-182 to do your theme song?
Argentinian. We went on a website called Fiverr, and I hired a guy. This is like 5 years ago. I hired a guy to record a theme song and the lyrics, and he sent it over. It's weird.
It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, when he showed it to me the first time, I was half lit, and I was just like, "Yeah, dude, that's awesome! I'm gonna do that forever."
It's pretty awesome.
Thanks. So really quick, I want to say it's a thrill to have you guys on. We're really stoked that you guys agreed to come on the podcast. It's a big deal for us, honestly.
Oh, well, thanks. Jeez,
Thanks, we're excited.
Never been a big deal before.
I know. It's exciting for us.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, Spider. I've literally seen you like over 40 times in concert. Me and my
Oh,
wife
wow.
are huge fans of you.
Thanks.
We've seen you everywhere, and we've seen you in Chicago. We've seen you in Kansas City. We've seen you in Dallas. So we followed you guys around for a while back. When we first got together, as the one band that literally we're like, yeah, Power Man 5000. So it's
awesome.
Very appreciated that you got it here.
Now, appreciate that. Well,
getting into the movie about Bury the Bride. Now, one, this is coming from your guys' production company, the One Fox production company. Now, tell people how this came about. Our listeners, I have heard the story, but how did this production company come about?
take this one.
Sure. Well, we when we got together, we started doing music videos. So we were both in bands, and we knew other bands. So we're like, it was kind of more of a fun thing, and we would direct our own videos, make our own videos. But then when the pandemic was about to start, and it was kind of like this really weird question of what was going to happen, and how long this lockdown was going to be, we're like, let's make a couple short films. Let's go into the narrative space, and we loved it. And then we're like, okay, let's take it a step further. Let's see if we can get through an entire film. And this was like right when it was like hardcore lockdown, crazy COVID. No one was doing anything. So we had all these great actors sitting at home doing nothing. All these great, our cinematographer, everyone was just available. So we're like, let's see how this goes. And then it worked. And then so we just kept going, and the momentum continued. And and now we're in pre-production on our 5th feature in like 3 years, which is crazy.
How fast it goes when you're doing stuff like that. It's like one day you're like, man, I just started working in this kind of industry, and the next day you're like, oh, it's 20 years. What?
Yeah, seriously.
I think one other thing that was a big part of us starting this on our own was the realization, frustration of trying, like in anything in life, trying to get other people involved. Mm-hmm. We first wanted to start making movies. Like a lot of people, we thought like, oh, well, you can't do that yourself. You need help from other people. And so we would have meetings with other producers, and they would promise you the world. They have all this funding, and we'll be shooting by next month, and don't worry, and blah, blah, blah. And we found that nothing ever happened.
Right.
We'd be on the hook for 6 months waiting for some meeting to happen, or this to happen, or that to happen. until we finally just got to the point where like we could just do this ourselves. You know, we could just scrape together, you know, enough money, and we had enough friends and contacts. I'm like, but you know, it's like anything in life. It's just convincing yourself first that you can do whatever you want, as long as you're willing to put in the work and
a lot of work.
Yeah. And so we decided that, you know, like we didn't need anybody to at least begin. And that was the greatest decision that we ever made. We were just like, let's just fucking do it. Let's just start working. And we started, you know, making our own stuff.
Yeah, it was really cool because we realized we had these skills that, you know, like I do all the post on the films. I edit and I do all the sound, and we do them. And obviously we both can do music. And so we're like, hey, wait, like maybe, you know, a lot of filmmakers, they have to, you know, okay, well, we're going to shoot this, but then I need someone else to edit it. And then I need someone else to do the sound design. Then I need someone else to, and we're like, oh, well, we can do everything here. And we have an office in our house. And then, yeah, it started to work. And then all of a sudden we started having other people reaching out, being like, hey, I want to get involved somehow in the next film. And so, yeah, with Bury the Bride, we had a couple outside producers with, you know, financing and stuff like that. It was the first time we did that, and it was really successful. So, yeah, it's just been kind of growing and snowballing, and that's exciting.
Yeah, one thing I did just hear you say, you said you worked on the music, and I noticed you put some Krsy Fox song, Jawbreaker, I believe was on.
Yeah.
Not one Power Man song couldn't throw in there. I see how that is.
That was his decision. I was like, I'm always down to put it. He's like, no, I want to license out. You know, we really did want to use some outside music.
Sure.
Like, you know, we went to, like that band Nightclub has a song.
That was fantastic scene. Probably one of my favorite scenes in the movie. It really bounced out the dread you were feeling in the whole movie, and it sort of eased it back until, oh fuck, what just happened after that. So that was a great scene in that movie.
Let's get into Bury the Bride, because again, we watched Allegory from last year. Love that. Yeah. This is a completely different train. In fact, where did the idea for Bury the Bride come from? Like, where's the concept? Did you like just go to a bar one night and see like an annoying group of like, you know, bridesmaids and like, oh, they need to die somehow?
Well, I think that if you can't, I mean, like all good ideas, they evolve, but I think the original, a lot of it it's honestly like personal family stuff, like people that we know or family members we know. Yeah,
I'm from Canada, and so a lot of the elements of these guys, I'm like, oh wow, this is like my brother and his friends, like, you know, not to the dangerous part, but when they all drink and stuff, and you're like, okay. And then, in a nice way, obviously. They're not murderers or horrible people. But
as far as we know.
As far as we know, yeah. But no, I think initially it was like we had a couple of the projects ahead of Bury the Bride. And I was like, hey, I had this weird thought in the shower. There was like a really small idea around it that Spider and I grew. And I was like, hey, what if we did something like, this seems like it'd be really easy and quick to shoot. We could do in between these other things we're doing. It was not easy and quick, just so you know, but it grew into Bury the Bride. So I'm glad that happened. And yeah, it really evolved from just pulling from people we know. And
I mean, I think the heart of the story really is the sisters, and Krsy has two sisters. So I think the relationship between her and Scout in the movie is based on a lot of the real life sort of sisterly tension and love. You know, it's like you love them and you hate them and you think they're stupid and you want to help them. And so I think that the heart of the movie is really that, beyond the horror stuff. But if I remember correctly, it was that kind of relationship that sort of started the idea.
Yeah. And think, we can be in one location at a bachelorette party, and that will just create all this conflict and, you know, craziness. So
there's one shot that's definitely, I think, a main added to a character that I think that adds to the movie, and that is the creepy little house that you guys found. Like, were you guys like just driving down a road and it's like that creepy house right there?
You know, it wasn't that simple, but you know, it's funny you say that, because on tour you see a lot of those kind of places. You know, you're driving in the middle of nowhere, 4 hours of nothing, and all of a sudden off the side of the road you see that kind of place.
Yeah.
And it's always been a source of on when you're out on the road and you see places like that, it's like a Texas Chainsaw kind of vibe where you're just like, what the fuck goes on there? Like, who lives in that house? So that was sort of the idea.
I think that was the first thing we asked the people when we went and looked at their property. We're like, do you guys live here? And they're like, oh no. I'm like, oh, thank God. 'Cause it was
But it was somebody at one point, somebody's real house.
Yeah.
As was the other house, the secondary house that was really dilapidated. Apparently, that had been in a flood, and whatever was left of it was just standing. So all those in the trailer and all that was on one property.
Oh wow!
In Lancaster, California, in the middle of the desert, and it was an amazing location to shoot on. But it was not.
Take you guys to shoot out there.
Well, it's like I hesitate. It's weird. I hesitate to tell people the kind of shooting schedule we do, because on one hand it makes people go like, "Wow, how is that even possible?" And then the other hand, people are impressed that we were able to shoot. But I will say, I will tell you that we shot the entire movie in 7 days.
Oh shit!
Oh no way!
Yeah.
No way!
And
That's
all
crazy.
night shoots, I have to add, which makes it extremely more difficult. It was crazy.
Yeah, I've said this in other interviews where like this movie could it's one of those movies where you hear stories about the madness of shooting Apocalypse Now or Jaws, and this is one of those things that feels like that. It was insane. Like by the end of it, I think we had all gone mad. We had tackled so much material. It's and the environment was so, what you're seeing on screen is exactly what that place was. The weather was awful. We were freezing at night. There were hurricane force winds. There were sand tornadoes. There were rattlesnakes.
Oh my God!
It was nuts.
Did you feel this like down that block from my house? Because I live in Oklahoma next to Texas, and
it's a similar vibe. I think Oklahoma is much more civilized than where we were.
Oh yeah, it was crazy. Like we would drive home at night after we were shooting, and it was still dark, and there'd be like a guy in the middle of a desert on a bike, but we're like minimum 20 miles from any kind of civilization, just like riding, and you're like, where is he going? Like, this is so scary.
I was driving to set one day, and there was a car pulled over on the side of the road, and it had like no hood on the car. It looked like it was abandoned, but apparently, and there was a woman standing by the car and a guy on the other side of the car, and I could see him with a giant metal pipe just like smashing something on the ground on the other side of the car, but I couldn't see what it was.
Man, I think you just found where they buried Jimmy Hoffa.
So we cast him in the movie. No, that's the main character of the film.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna give away the ending or anything, but to me, Bury the Fried has the perfect ending. To me, like the
thank
perfect
you.
ending. So was this idea fully formed when you started filming, or did the vision change as you were on set?
We were pretty locked in once the script was done,
Right.
Because we didn't have time to do much improvising or changing. I mean, we did have to improvise a lot on details of like we thought we were going to shoot this here, but it was too windy, so we had to move it over here, stuff like that. But the story itself was flushed out. I mean, we had a pretty solid, very solid script. So all the beats of the film were there. As far as I remember, we didn't really change anything.
Well, yeah, the big thing, and people are like, how is it possible to shoot that quickly? And the reason is we do a lot of pre-production. So we do a lot of table reads, a lot of rehearsals with the cast ahead. So like everybody really knows exactly what they're doing. And so we don't have to do a ton of takes, you know what I mean? And so, the script is really fleshed out. And the only thing that really changed from the original script is it was going to be in a cabin in the woods, and it ended up being a cabin in the desert. So we had to alter the script around that, but it didn't really change the story that much.
Yeah, that's right, because it's very hard to find a cabin in the woods in Los Angeles.
It is very hard.
I like the cabin in the desert.
Me too. I think it's great.
Yeah.
I think the cabin in the desert actually gives it more of a mystique.
Desolate location.
I agree. I think it was one of those things that which happens sometimes when you're making indie films, that you have to be flexible, and things get thrown at you, change, and more than not, the changes end up being for the better.
Yeah.
So I think that's an indication. That's an example of the fact that we couldn't do it in the woods, I think ended up being a better choice.
So
we actually had a conversation last year with about a movie called When the Screaming Starts, which is kind of like a mockumentary, like What We Do in Shadows, but except for about serial killers. And they said the whole reason they had to take it to a docuseries was because the way they're filming it didn't look right, so they had to make it look like a documentary to make it
Right.
Sure.
And it's a really good movie. Definitely check it out if you can.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, it seems like the both of you are now doing a lot more hands-on, doing a lot more, stuff. Like, what parts of the filmmaking process are you guys enjoying more than the others?
Right.
Oh, well, I know the stuff we hate is is anything non-creative, like any kind of like logistical producer stuff that isn't like, fun creative stuff. I really love doing, basically like production design, like I love wardrobe and all that stuff. I love, just setting the aesthetic and the look of a film, working on problem solving of how to make something look, distressed or burnt out or old or, whatever it is that you're doing. I love that because, it started out in art school. So, it's like kind of in my wheelhouse to think that way. So all that stuff, but yeah, anything that has to do anything has to do with spending money or
that sucks. I mean, we both love, we're really passionate about practical effects. Right. So we really love working with the makeup artists, and we do a lot of pre and setup. We're doing a new movie that there's going to be a lot of that, but Bury the Bride, we had to do, we had heads and we had a lot of blood. And so we love doing that stuff. And I mean, I love the acting side of it.
Really funny when we do makeup tests at home, and I don't think our neighbors know, like she'll walk outside to get something out of her car covered in blood.
I scared we have an old couple next door, and like their granddaughter is ruined. She was like 6, and I was like, it's not real. She was running down the street.
My wife, back when we lived in Kansas City, my wife actually went out for her bridesmaids night, her bridal shower, and she was covered in a blood covered dress. and like the neighbors were all awesome. Like, no, don't worry, we're not. I swear. You guys mentioned this several times. So you guys both wrote the script for this movie here, and I know both of you individually have written really good music, even on your side with I literally have listened to you guys in the past before Power Man 5000 and stuff. But now lyrically, do you guys like writing like a song because it's like a simpler 4-minute, 5-minute atmosphere, or doing a script? Is there like a music to it, trying to write exactly how the dialogue goes back and forth?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a challenge because it's the first thing we really wrote together.
Oh wow!
Because
that we wrote one other thing, but we didn't make it. This is the first thing we really dove into.
It can be. It's like it's helpful and it's a challenge. Like it's good to have somebody else there to, like, Krsy tends to be the like sit down and write like 10 pages in one sitting, and I'm like, So it made the completion of the script probably really faster than it would have been had I just done it myself. And then you get into moments when you are arguing over, I really want this, and I hate that line, I love that line, and you have to kind of find ways to compromise. And it's interesting because I know that I'm sure that question will come up a lot about co-writing, and I was trying to like look at it and see, and I think it's weird. At the end of the day, I almost feel like even we contributed equally to the whole thing, but I almost feel like as a concept, it's like you almost embody the female characters and I embody the male characters. Like it's sort of. Like
I can see that.
I feel like those are the ones I contributed to the most, whereas a lot of the female character dialogue I didn't really touch because I was like, oh, that's your voice and you know what I mean? So, which I think ultimately made the script really strong because you did get this cultural clash between these characters, this like societal, like, men and women. And you see that, like, we didn't set out to like make a statement about that, but when I look at some of the dynamics between especially when they're all together in one scene, you can really feel that when they start arguing about, killing animals or whatever. And it's like, it really is a good.
I've literally had those arguments. There is a couple lines though I did for the guys that I definitely give that my uncle would say, I have to say this because it's the weirdest thing. Who says that? But my uncle says it. So
my actual next question was, what characters were most fun to write?
Yeah, I mean,
Carmen was really fun. Yeah, she's always fun to work with. Lindsay, she's her background is comedy, so we knew when we were writing it that she was gonna play Carmen, and we really trust her with the comedy aspect. So she's really fun. David was really fun.
I really enjoyed the David character and giving those weird pseudo religious poetic ramblings. That to me is my only. That's you say Allegoria is a very different movie than this, and it is, because this is a much more Allegoria was the characters were all in their heads and little self-inflated versions of themselves and trying to pontificate all these deep thoughts, and so I was oh, this is my one chance to kind of put a little of that in this movie by having him just having this like I said, this almost religious bit to me. He's almost like a preacher, but he's
kind of Koreshian. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
I'm a redneck preacher from the trailer court. I know plenty of those.
Yeah, he was cool. That one, I mean, I actually really liked developing the Sadie character too, because we really intentionally made her be she really probably should have been the one who dies first, and that was kind of the fun part about it, and just to see the way she evolves without giving too much away. Her character really changes and progresses through the movie, and I thought that was a really fun. We didn't know for sure right away which character I was going to play, but I was really happy I ended up with Sadie. I thought that was
the best character I was Puppy, because he doesn't speak.
Oh, true.
I love Puppy.
Yeah, Chaz Bono, what a great performance.
Yeah, he was great.
Puppy, he was amazing in that role. I was just is he ever going to talk? And then
he's like the baby in The Simpsons, right? She finally talks after 20 seasons.
Totally.
Yeah, and Puppy totally has that coming out speech, or of everything that I don't want to.
Yeah, don't give it away.
Don't give it away, but great speech by Puppy. Great speech by Puppy. Now, you said you guys worked on a lot of the special effects. Did you have an actual team with you doing all the special effects? Because there's everything from the axe cutting, the chest ripping open. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. There was one part I laughed so hard at, and it was the inside the car when the blood just splashed.
So just so you guys know, Neil laughs at the most horrifying shit. So
I do. Ever since I was in 6th grade, I got kicked out for Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3. I was laughing so hard. Part of they're dude, you're 8. You should not be laughing.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Yeah, we do. We had a great team. We had some people that worked on the pre-stuff, which they weren't necessarily on set, the head, not to give too much away, but his name is Ken, and Kenneth Calhoun, and he did an incredible job on that. And then we had Brittany and Ashley and Bobby all were on set different times. Ashley did the reshoots, and then we had a couple little things, and then so it was great. We spent a lot of time doing the pre-work, so we kind of knew exactly what was going to happen, and it was really just trying to figure out, okay, well, we have to make sure blood doesn't get all over this wall in this really disgusting cabin. It's pretty much was a lot of the challenge, or just not destroying the truck, things like that.
Yeah. But we don't, at some point we'll probably learn how to do it ourselves, but that's one thing that we obviously in scripting and design wise, if we're designing a monster or something, we do all that. And then we bring on talented people to help us make it a reality.
Yeah.
All right. So Chris's question he always likes to ask people when we get a good interview going is what is, and I hate this question.
Yeah, it's the worst question to ask. I'll do it, dude. So
what's your favorite movie of all time?
Oh, great.
Yeah, what is your favorite movie?
Favorite horror movie of all time? What do you guys?
Oh, favorite horror movie.
I hate
Yeah,
choosing
what do you
one
think?
thing. I'm not a one thing guy.
I'm not
like
either.
It's hard because
It's hard,
there are
yeah.
different ones. It's like saying who's your favorite band? You know, it's like
yeah.
it's hard to pick down, but you can pick. You can like.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I'd say number one, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original,
Sure.
of course.
Perfect.
Nice.
But
The remake. Are you sure?
The new one.
no, yeah, no.
I'm sorry.
The OG, I felt a lot like this movie felt like that because it was so hard and so crazy. But then I have like two runners up, which is totally my age. And when I was really young,
Sure.
it was The Craft and Scream.
We are the weirdos.
Yeah,
Yeah, is The Craft a horror movie though?
I think it is.
I don't know.
But I guess it's debate. I mean, yeah.
I mean, what
I
is
think
a
it's
horror?
like
It's spooky for
romance,
sure, though. It is
but,
spooky for sure.
I dated a lot of Wiccans when I was a teenager.
Oklahoma witches. Yeah, I guess for me, I guess yeah. I mean, I love Texas Chainsaw and I love the first Halloween, but I think for me, like The Shining is probably the greatest horror movie ever made.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say Jaws.
Well, Jaws would be, yeah, and that's another one. Like people will debate whether Jaws is a horror movie. I mean, if Jaws is a horror movie, then but The Shining as a
Yeah.
The Shining is beautiful.
That's beautiful.
yeah.
Beautiful movies, even though it's a horror movie, like it's still one of the ones I go to bed to at night. Like I throw that on and go to sleep.
Yeah, we did that we watched it so many, we'd fall asleep to it all. I don't know how. We would like wake up with Shelley Duvall screaming.
Every single night. Yeah, it was like the beginning of us dating. I think it was seriously for like 2 months.
But it's just such a, I mean, sometimes with genre stuff, you always like, there's an asterisk next to stuff like my favorite horror movie, but my favorite movie, as if it's different.
Yeah.
But The Shining is one of those movies that there's no apologies, for it being a horror movie.
Sure.
It is just one of the greatest movies ever made. So yeah, I just love everything about it because, I'm a big Kubrick fan anyway. Mm-hmm. And I love the fact that it has all the elements, it's scary, it has gore, it has, but it also has this, this otherworldly vibe about it. It's almost like watching a dream,
Mm-hmm.
I got to go up to Overlook one time because I was actually a wedding DJ and stuff, and I had to go up there looking for some stuff. And literally, the aura that building gives you just walking up to it is just it's unreal. It's unreal. You just don't ever get a different. You don't get. There's only several buildings I've walked to, like the Winchester Mansion or the Sally House in Kansas, which is the most haunted house of all time or whatever. But they just give you an aura that's just like, oh.
Well, now you can add the Bury the Bride cabin to that.
Yes. I don't even think there's an address for it, but yeah.
Now, just before we go, do you guys have any advice for aspiring filmmakers who are just starting out, who's trying to go out there and do it? Because we get a lot of independent filmmakers that listen to our show. Yeah. What advice can you give them?
Wow, so many things you could say. I mean, we kind of touched on it earlier in this conversation about, a big part of doing something is just doing something, and convincing yourself that, I think the mistake a lot of people need is they think they need all these things in a row before they can begin something or accomplish something. And the reality is you don't, I mean, the beauty about making movies is you can make a movie. You can film it on your iPhone, you can film, whatever, you can make a movie for $0, with your friends. It doesn't mean it's going to be good or a success or make you any money, but it is an accomplishment that you can achieve. So just sort of realizing that it is incredibly hard work and more work than you probably imagine, but it's not a magic trick. I mean, it is just hard work. So it is possible if you're willing to put in the time. And then, other than that, it's just, if you're writing a script, write a script that's achievable. You know what I mean? Like I would say, don't write Star Wars if you have $1,500 to make a movie. You know what I mean? It's like, write a story about two people at dinner and something crazy happens. I mean, you can just be strategic about what you're doing, and that will help you achieve your goals.
Yeah, I think too, sometimes finding, which we were lucky to, besides each other, just finding like you don't need a lot of people, but a small team that you love to work with, that everybody has some different talents,
Right.
like our cinematographer, we use him on everything. And, our sound people are effects people. And so I think if you find like that small core group, the family, and you can do something with 5 people that looks much more expensive,
Right.
if everybody's good at what they do. So yeah, I would, just people get in their own way and they overthink things. And yeah, that's the best thing you could do.
All right.
Awesome.
Well-
Well, it's been a pleasure having both you guys on the show. I just want everybody to know Bury the Bride hits Tubi April 22nd on the free app to download. The film is set to have its world premiere at Panic Fest in
Great.
Kansas City on April 15th. And then it will be screening at the Salem Horror Film Festival on April 22nd, the same day as of release.
Yeah, we're gonna try to get this out before Panic Fest, so anyone who hasn't bought a ticket yet can get a ticket. I'll be there,
Yeah.
so I'll be at the screening too. So I'm super excited.
Great. Oh, we're excited
Yeah,
to meet
Panic
you.
Fest is so much fun. We were there last year for Allegoria,
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah.
it was just like such a great festival, and the people who run it are have become friends now, and we're excited to go back. So we're gonna fly to Panic Fest, then fly straight to Salem,
Yeah,
and then fly home, and then
Yeah,
it's
Panic
going to be
Fest.
really fun.
Everyone I tell Panic Fest is my favorite time of year. So
It's crazy. They know how to treat their filmmakers, and
Oh,
they
yeah.
really passionately love film and independent film. So that's just a really special thing. We're so lucky to be a part
I'm
of it.
excited to see you guys there. So
I think
Us
we
too.
met. I think we met at Panic Fest last year.
we did take a picture. I know we took a picture
Yeah,
together.
I recognize your face.
We took that. Remember, we took that photo, and then I had security quickly usher you out.
That's exactly what happened. Yeah. I have still bruises.
Have it somewhere, but
But I'll come on and say hi at the festival. That's okay.
Yeah.
Yes,
please.
please do.
Okay.
Yes.
Real quick, what I have our guests do every episode is if you could say your name and then say, for example, I'm Spider One. You're listening to movies that don't suck and some they do. Would you guys say that for me?
I will. Movies that don't suck and some that do, right?
Yeah.
Hey, this is Spider One, director and co-writer of Bury the Bride, and you are listening to movies that don't suck and some that do.
Perfect. And Krsy,
Which
can you
one? I
do
want to know
some-
which ones that do suck.
Okay, so
we got a full list every year.
and Bury the Bride is definitely in the don't suck category. So
Oh, yay. Thank
Thank God.
God.
I was like, oh, maybe we're in the
Yeah,
suck
I-
category.
Your movie last year was actually in our honorable mentions.
Yeah.
'Cause we get 5
Oh.
honorable mentions every year.
Honorable mentions that suck or that don't suck.
don't suck.
No, that was good.
Oh, sorry, yeah, but-
Krsy, can you do the same thing for me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, I'm Krsy Fox, co-writer and star of Bury the Bride, and you're listening to movies that don't suck and some that do.
Oh, perfect. Thank you guys so much for being on the show.
Thank
Yeah,
you for
we
having us.
appreciate
This
it.
is so
Thank you
fun.
guys very much. You guys enjoyed the whole festival season. I know you guys are going to be out a lot of places and stuff like that. We really appreciate you guys coming by today.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. We'll see you guys in Kansas City.
I'll see you there.
One of you, right? And thanks. Bye, guys.
All right.
Hey guys, Chris here. Thanks for listening to the first of our Panic Fest 2023 special themed episodes. Spider-Man and Krsy Fox couldn't be more cool, and we were thrilled to have them on the podcast. Their movie, Bury the Bride, is showing Saturday, April 15th at Screenland. Go to screenland.com or panicfilmfest.com to get tickets for that. I think all the hybrid passes are sold out, but virtual passes for the fest are still available, so jump on that. So thanks for listening. We got plenty more episodes of Panic Film Fest 2023 stuff coming out. If you guys want to get a hold of us, you can find us online at WizardStuff.net. We're on w2mnet.com. Again, W2M is a net.com. They got all kinds of podcasts there, like wrestling and games and movies, again, like us. And we want you to check that out for sure. We're on Facebook at facebook.com/podcast. We're on Twitter at MTS Podcast. We're on Instagram at MTS Podcast. Go to patreon.com/movies don't suck. You guys can throw us a few shekels to help the lights on over here. Also, if you guys want shirts with our shit on it, go to bonfire.com/movies don't suck, and some of you you'll find some other stuff. If you guys want to send us an old-fashioned email, info@moviesdon'tsuck.net or moviesdon'tsuck@gmail.com. You guys subscribe on YouTube, like us on Facebook, and where you find podcasts on movies that don't suck and some that do. We will have more episodes for this coming up, so stay tuned. We'll see you guys later.